Hello and welcome. My name is Kate Federoff. I am the interim president of EPAC. Many of us know each other already, or we've run into each other at the crag, beneath the boulder, or in the gym. Just so you know, for anyone that isn't able to make it tonight, we are recording this meeting and we'll post it on our website. Thank you so much for being here and being part of a very exciting evening for us. We're a group of local climbers passionate about protecting the climbing in Eastern Pennsylvania. We share that with you. The Eastern Pennsylvania Alliance of Climbers is a nonprofit and proud to be an Access Fund local climbing organization, or LCO. This evening, our team will share with you a general overview of what we have started, answer questions that you have submitted when registering, and then we will open up our discussion to you. We see this conversation as a starting point to unite a community behind this cause. EPAC is still under construction, and we're still finding our team. We have made our very best attempt to invite everyone. We recognize that creating a diverse organization will make us stronger, more capable, creative, and a powerful alliance. We are invested in being part of the solution for creating a diverse, equitable, and inclusive climbing community in Eastern PA. Let us create a safe and welcoming place. Let us learn and envision what this improved community might look like. It is exciting, and it is long past due. The founding members of EPAC are and dedicated to being part of this change. Our leadership roles are interim positions. We took these positions to satisfy the legal requirements of incorporation. In November, we plan on selecting our official leadership team, and we're ready to step aside to make space for others who would also make qualified and passionate leaders. We are dedicated to creating a diverse team from the top down. So we have a full house tonight. For this reason, we ask that you keep your audio turned off initially. You can use the chat feature to communicate with us. Char will be monitoring that tonight. We plan on having time to open our discussion for additional conversation beyond the questions you have already submitted. At that point, feel free to use the chat to submit a question or comment or to share with the group. If you prefer, you can use the hand raising feature to address the group directly. All right, so just two last things before we get started. I want to acknowledge what a vast amount of experience and knowledge we have with us tonight. We have local climbers, individuals representing local climbing organizations. We have land managers. We even have organizations outside of Eastern Pennsylvania here to support us. Thanks for all you do already to care for our climbing in Eastern Pennsylvania. A big thanks to Pro Bono ASL for making our meeting more accessible and for the great work they are doing. Please visit them on Instagram at Pro Bono ASL and donate if you can. Thanks to everyone who took the time to submit questions and contribute to our community discussion Padlets to get our conversation started. I'd also like to give a shout out to our EPAC interim board members for all your hard work and support. If you are here tonight, give us a wave when I introduce you. We have Tim Quick. We have Mike Donahue, John Geiger, John Janzer, and Nancy Stoner. This has been an amazing team to work with. Lastly, I would like to thank you in advance for a positive and memorable evening. Thank you for keeping to the norms we agreed to regarding making a safe space for all and being community-minded. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Char to talk about our mission statement.
Hi, I'm Char Federoff, and I'm the interim secretary for EPAC. Here's our mission statement. The Eastern Pennsylvania Alliance of Climbers is dedicated to promoting education, safeguarding access, building community, and preserving our natural lands for rock climbers of the past, present, and future. That statement is concise, but it contains a lot of depth. There's a lot of latitude for its application too. For example, when we talk about promoting education, it can pertain to subjects as simple as leave no trace, or as complex as educating the community on creating safe and accessible spaces for everyone. One important component that I'd like to elaborate on is that the mission is to preserve the land beyond our generation. We have a lot of work to do to ensure that we can continue to recreate on this land, but we need to make sure that future generations can have similar or better experiences than we have today. We also want our work to honor the people that cared for and enjoyed the land before us. I'm going to turn it over to Joe now to discuss our core values.
Hey guys, I'm Joe Forte, Interim Vice President for EPAC. I'd like to just thank all of you for coming here tonight. It's so awesome to see such a great community response. So what we did when we formed this group was we realized we had a lot of values and goals in common. And we decided to write down our core values because we know we're going to have some tough decisions to make in the future here. And by listing, the core values of your group, it helps guide your future decisions. I want to also add that this list is dynamic and we're looking for your input to help grow this list and grow the future of this organization. So to start, we value education and advocacy. So everyone give me a thumbs up if you've seen a huge surge of new climbers at the crag this year, right? Tons of new climbers. If we don't do something to help them learn about the ways that we preserve and conserve our resources, we can kiss our crags goodbye. So it's up to us to make sure we're passing that torch and that information to the next generation. Next is mentorship from one another, as well as future generations of climbers. I've personally benefited from this, and it's one of my favorite aspects of climbing is you learn from everyone around you. And by creating mentorship opportunities, we're going to create lessons far beyond climbing. I know I've learned some of my biggest life lessons through climbing. And so those mentorship opportunities are awesome. We want to support those and continue those. We also support and value stewardship and sustainability. If we want to continue to use this land and these resources in the future, we have to think about sustainability and how we can maintain these lands. We also value preservation and restoration of our climbing lands. It's not just about maintaining what we have, but we also see a lot of opportunities in expanding what else is out there. A lot of land that was traditionally inaccessible is now opening up and is able to be used. Land managers are now starting to see the value in climbing. So we're excited to see what other areas could possibly be opened up. We value the community development and diversity. I love that I've met climbers from all walks of life at the crag. You could be at the crag and see lawyers, teachers, pro climbers, dirtbags, and we all play on the same playing field. We're right next to each other belaying. And I love our diversity. Our diversity is what makes us strong. And by supporting that community development and diversity, we can be stronger as a team. And we also value building connection and mutual respect amongst all climbers. We need to recognize the value of our diversity and differing opinions and backgrounds. If we don't learn to respect one another, we lose that power. So building connection and respect is very important to us. So next, we're gonna address some of the questions that have come to us before this meeting. We're going to take the time to answer some of those questions. We've kind of summed them up into some common categories because a lot of the questions were very similar. And then we're going to open it up to some new dialogue. So to start off, Dana, by no coincidence, we'll get started by addressing our first question is what triggered the creation of this group?
Thanks, Joe. My name is Dana Cracchiola. I am the interim treasurer and access fund liaison. As you heard, many of us have been around the climbing community for many years, and we've all done various degrees of advocacy work. And it would have been easy to kind of continue on that path, but COVID's really showed us that there was a greater need. So if we all think back to March when everything started shutting down, the whole world was trying to figure out what to do. Climbers, land managers, advocates, we were all trying to figure out what that meant for climbing. The Access Fund began reaching out and getting a sense of who was open, who was closed, what the needs were for climbing areas, what folks were experiencing. And they started bringing regions together to help develop some guidance and reopening plans. And so in that conversation, it was pretty obvious that Eastern Pennsylvania did not have a unified voice or a coalesced group to kind of get this information from. So we weren't very well represented, even though there were some voices on the call. So this was the initial concern that kind of brought us together. And, we had to evaluate, well, is this a short-term fix, to address the needs of COVID? Or was there a long-term role that we could play together as a bigger group? As well as, did we have the energy and commitment to start such a big project? So the fact that a lot of things were shut down, was really helpful because it did give us the opportunity and the time we needed. So once we agreed that, yeah, we're all ready to do this, the next question was, who are we and what are we doing? At first, we thought we could stay in our Bucks County bubble and maybe just kind of look at those areas, and really felt that that was too limiting. So then we said, all right, well, we could do Southeastern Pennsylvania, give ourselves a little bit more room to grow. But after speaking with other LCOs and the Access Fund, it seemed like the best idea was to make a larger organization. So we would establish something that we could grow into versus something that we potentially would grow out of in the future. And that would make us a better resource and provide more support to many more climbing areas that wanted to get involved. So the purpose of EPAC is not to own all these climbing areas or micromanage them. We're not looking to take over existing efforts or groups. It's actually quite the opposite. What we want to do is give more support to what's already happening or establish support where it needs to be. So we're really looking to provide an organizational framework so that we could all do more together. And this way, every small group or large group or individual, doesn't have to go through the process of incorporating and getting bank accounts and filing exemptions and insurance, and all of the things we've been working on the last few months here. And to give you an idea of how that might roll out, some of you might know the High Rocks Climbers Coalition. They've been in and out of existence for many years. And, we do a lot of work there, but sometimes we get questions. Often we get questions about improving the parking or the bathrooms or bigger infrastructure programs. And we can't really do too much more beyond what we're already doing as an unofficial group. So we can't apply for grants, we can't solicit donations, we can't enter into agreements with our land managers. So we sort of hit a stopping point at terms to kind of take the next step. There's needs and desires, but we just don't have the means. I'm not saying we're getting better bathrooms or more parking anytime soon, but now we can explore that. So it allows us to be better partners with our land managers because we can do more with them. Another example on more of a broader scope is some of you may have seen an email come out from LCOs or the Access Fund about the Pennsylvania Department of Forestry putting out a user survey this summer. And that's because they're developing a strategic plan, which they do, I believe it's about every 5 years. And so we want to make sure that we keep that on our radar and we monitor the development. We try to get as many climber voices to fill out the survey as possible. That way climbers can be acknowledged as a user group. We want to make sure that their plan supports and protects climbing. And we also want to educate and be a resource for the decision makers so that they know what good climbing policy looks like. So those are just kind of two examples that have been kind of rolling out here, and hopefully that'll give you a little bit of the essence of EPAC and kind of what we're trying to do. We've had many hours over many months of conversation, so I'm sure there might be questions and clarifications, so be sure to throw that in the chat so that we can hopefully circle back around to that a little bit later in the program. Let's see, so looks like Char is up for the next question. So Char, do you do any work around maintaining bolts, hardware on climbs, or coordinating with local authorities and first ascensionists for that reason?
This is definitely work that EPAC plans to take on in the future, but we don't have insurance that would cover us for this type of work yet. We're still in the early phases of developing the organization, so we're not operating on this level yet. It's big issues like this one that prompted the creation of EPAC though, so we will definitely be moving in this direction. Dana mentioned that we're stronger as an organization, and the bolt and hardware maintenance is a great example of how EPAC will be able to use this strength to support the climbing community. I'm going to pass the third question on to Joe. Joe, the question asks, how can we build better inroads to folks who have climbed for a long time and perhaps feel overwhelmed by the influx of new climbers who want to get into outdoor climbing without creating tension between traditional and new climbing communities.
Cool. Yeah, although, many of us don't personally feel this tension, it does exist, and many of us have witnessed it or experienced it. Personally, I love the opportunities I've had at the Crag to both learn from experienced climbers as well as mentor new or younger climbers. I think one of the most powerful things we can do as a group is empower our experienced climbers to help guide and mentor the next generation. By cultivating mentorship and educational experiences, we can help preserve the cultural and ethical values of our local communities. So one of my favorite aspects of climbing is that every area has its own unique character, and it creates a unique experience when you go from one place to another. And so by empowering the veterans of our crags and having them pass along those cultural norms and values to the next generation, we can ensure that that next generation gets to share the same unique experiences that we do. We did have some great suggestions from the group over the Padlet. One way we can build that inroads is to work together to care for the crags. We've heard some comments that only the older generation is doing the work, but personally my experience is a little bit different, and I know some of our other members' experience has been different. We've seen some young folks do some great work at High Rock and High Rocks and Haycock and Boxcar. So, we want to put it out there for everyone to get involved and kind of build those connections between the different groups. We've also got some great suggestions to create structured mentoring programs that I spoke about earlier. And I think this will also help experienced climbers mentor younger climbers and build that connection. So next, I'm going to hand it off to Dana for our fourth question. Dana, the question is, what are ways to connect and interact with new climbers in the community? I've recently moved to the area and want to find ways to make friends around the climbing community, and that would be great. Finding belay partners, getting involved, socially distant events, and so on and so forth.
So yeah, from an EPAC standpoint, we don't really have anything like that in place. It's certainly something we're considering for the future if it's a need that our community has. I would say, I don't know if that individual is on the call, but in the short term, if you look at wherever you're climbing, whether it's a gym or a crag, there's probably a community or a group or a meetup sort of already in existence. So it's just a matter of finding, that group and linking up with them. It could be a little difficult right now with COVID and so many events and large scale classes and programs being canceled, but there's still a very welcoming community out there. One thing we will be doing is listing events that are sponsored both by EPAC and surrounding LCOs so that you know of things that are going on in case you maybe aren't on that newsletter or email list or social media account. So we'll be trying to update that, and you can check the events calendar on the website, and we'll try to post that on social media as well. So back to Char, what can gym reps do for EPAC?
Right now, the best thing gyms can do is make their climbers and staff aware of EPAC. Educate them about the work we will be doing for the community. You can use whatever media and platforms you have available to help spread the word, share our posts, and educate climbers. Down the road, we will be offering partnership and outreach programs that can be run through the gyms. Kate, our sixth question is, how do we create a climbing community that has all climbers in mind? For example, climbers of color, LGBTQIA+ climbers, disabled climbers, women identifying climbers, etc.
Right. Of course, we don't have all the answers for this really important question. It's important to us as EPAC, but also to each of us personally. As I mentioned before at the beginning, at the very start of EPAC, we took interim roles. We believe that so much of the change we need to see is structural in nature. So one of our first decisions we did make as a group was to build a community beyond ourselves, to build a diverse organization, starting with our leadership. We are ready to step aside and take supporting roles. We believe that this is a starting point. We believe that this diverse leadership team will have the collective experience and knowledge to help everyone feel welcome in our community. So as we build our team and our community, we'll definitely be able to address this question a little bit more. All right, another question back for Joe. What areas will you cover and how will you help them?
Awesome. So yeah, when we started this, or when we announced this, we got a influx of a whole lot of questions. Are you going to cover this area or that area? And it was really exciting because it just shows that there's a need out there and people are excited to do something about it. So one of our core values is to preserve and restore our climbing lands. So we want to be available to help out any area that's needing help in Eastern PA. If it doesn't have an organization to support it, we're here. And if we want to start one for that area, we can do that too. Our boundaries will be fairly loose and no area is too big or too small. We'll help where help is needed and where there's a desire to get involved. One of the most exciting ideas we talked about was actually having area ambassadors. So, if you're not necessarily part of the leadership team, but you are that person who's been personally taking care of your local crag or know that crag better than anyone else, we want you to get involved as an ambassador, where we can connect and empower you to be local stewards for that crag. These people that have been traditionally maintaining the crags, they know the crags better than anyone else, better than us. And so we just want to be there to provide as much support for them as possible. So again, if you know an area out there that needs our help, please let us know or step up yourself and get involved with us. Kate, next question will go to you. Will EPAC address the continuation of cleanups such as poison ivy, weeds, graffiti, trash at local crags?
I actually really like this question because I don't know which I hate more, poison ivy or graffiti. But preservation is absolutely part of our mission. Our goal is to work with local climbing groups and organizations to take care of our climbing areas, which includes graffiti and trash. We recognize that doing this work definitely has the best intentions, but we have to always secure permission from land managers and work within whatever system they choose to operate within, especially when using something like chemicals, which of course sometimes comes with poison ivy. So plant life, even poison ivy or weeds and weeds are a bit different than human-made damage. As much as I hate poison ivy, we want to preserve our climbing areas in the most natural states possible, which usually means leaving native plants, including poison ivy. Of course, the exception would be for maintaining climbs. So again, would have to work with land managers if they wanted our help, would make a plan together. But we found that once we have a good relationship with land managers, getting the work done is not an issue. The Haycock Bouldering Coalition Graffiti Cleanup Summer Series is a really great example of a local organization working with land managers to create a solution. And we have several people on our call tonight that scrubbed graffiti with us over the summer, so we really appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to send a question back to Dana. This is going to be our last question submitted before the cleanup. Will there be any efforts to work with conservation groups in the future to keep the ecosystems we climb in healthy?
So absolutely, recognizing that the lands we climb on are part of a greater ecosystem and as well multiple user groups. Oftentimes there's other like-minded groups out there doing the same work, and we really want to sort of connect with them so we can support each other. I was recently on a call with the Lower Delaware Wild, Scenic and River Management Council, and they were pretty much, just as surprised to see me there as I was to see me there, because rock climbing in rivers, didn't necessarily seem like it made sense. But this particular group of people do have an interest in preserving the Tohickon Creek, which is, running right below high rocks and silting up with all the erosion. They're also involved with the I-80 rockfall mitigation plan in terms of how that's progressing. And yes, that's in New Jersey, but it's, right on the other side of the border. Some folks here might have been following that. So these other groups can really help us understand our lands, as well as the ecosystem, so we can figure out, how to best support them from a multi-user standpoint. And now back to Kate.
All right. At this point, we want to invite any of you that would like to be part of the conversation. Again, you can submit a question or comment through the chat, and Char's monitoring that, or you're welcome to use the hand raising feature, which is found in the participants icon at the bottom of the screen. If you'd actually just like to raise your hand, and we'll ask you to turn your audio off, and you're welcome to share, ask a question or comment.
And if you don't have any questions, feel free to just chime in with some comments or some dialogue, start a conversation.
Yeah, speak up. Love to hear from you guys. Tell us why you came tonight.
Oh, looks like we have Haley Boyle.
Yeah, hi. My name's Haley. I live in Philadelphia, climb at a number of the crags in the area, mostly Birdsboro and Safe Harbor, and pre-pandemic was a member at Cliffs. Haven't yet returned to the gym yet though. So I'm interested, I guess, to learn a little bit more about the steps that EPAC will be taking in terms of like fulfilling the goals of like making a diverse board and leadership. You know, just kind of like glancing around at some of the faces on the call tonight, you know, it does strike me, I guess, that most of us are presenting as white. And I think that something that, you know, means a lot to me is ensuring that we're not just kind of like talking the talk when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, but also like doing the work that it takes to make sure that we are creating space that is welcoming and suitable and accepting of people from a variety of different backgrounds. So I'd love to just kind of like hear a little bit more about maybe some of the ideas and steps that EPAC plans to take for kind of creating that diverse leadership and also maybe opening up the sport of climbing to you know, people in the Philadelphia area or some of the other cities around Eastern Pennsylvania.
Thanks, Haley. I have to say that we have spent such a significant time talking about this. I want you to know that it is something that's very important to all of us as a group, but also to us personally. And we're expecting 70 some people today. We actually reached out to every group imaginable in the Philadelphia area, all of our affinity groups, from gyms. We really did make a concerted effort. And I had the same thought when I was looking around our group. I was so happy to see everyone, but I did notice the same thing. So honestly, as a group, we're going to have to, I don't know, rethink and try again. The main thing that was our goal, and that it is still our goal, is to find a diverse leadership. We feel like it needs to be from the top down. And this is our first attempt. And clearly we have some room to improve with that, but that's our goal. There's a lot of decisions we haven't made yet because we really are waiting to have our team, like in November when we select our new leadership. We'll really continue to work on this. Anyone else want to chime in?
Was there any suggestions, you know, perhaps the interim leadership team didn't, you know, think of it. We obviously couldn't think of everything possible.
Yeah,
Does anyone have any suggestions we may have missed to help diversify our leadership team?
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy to chime in again because, you know, it is something that's important to me. I think, you know, in the early stages of any organization, there's certainly going to be growing pains and trying to, you know, create the space that does show that we are open to and a safe space for climbers of all backgrounds takes time, right? And it's not going to happen overnight. I definitely think that, you know, working directly with some of the gyms and maybe outreach into some of the neighborhoods that those gyms are located in And then beyond that, the mentorship ideas would certainly, I think, serve the community at large for, giving newer people who maybe don't have the, they don't have the ability to connect with already experienced climbers to bring them into the outdoor spaces, or even just to show them what climbing is about in gyms too. So I think, those two areas are certainly, good places to start, and just continuing the conversation, and ensuring that, we're open to the advice that does come in, even if sometimes it's hard to hear.
Absolutely.
And I would say too, like everybody on this call can help us with that.
Yeah.
As Joe said, we tried to think of everything, every group. We searched, social media, we reached out to as many contacts, but, we're obviously missing, some of that. I'm in Central Bucks County, which is 85 to 93% white, depending on the statistics you look at. So my access to diversity, is limited for the gym that I work for. So if you're at a gym, work for a gym, posting our stuff on social media and letting those folks know, letting all folks know what we're looking to do is just super helpful. As much as we can spread the word, we can hopefully connect with those people that want to help with that portion.
We'd also really appreciate feedback in terms of, Haley, you mentioned kind of presenting ourselves in a way that is open. Maybe even if people could give us some feedback on the website. We tried to make it very general because, again, we're waiting for a team to really develop and add to it. So we just kind of got it started, but that would be great too.
Can I chime in here for a second? Sorry, I have no idea how to use the hand raising feature. So maybe I was just supposed to do this. I'm not really sure, but I work for the Bureau of State Parks in Ralph Stover and Delaware Canal State Park. So first of all, I just want to thank everyone who's come out for the 3 trail days that we've had at Ralph Stover at High Rocks. But in response to the question that Haley has about diversity, equity, and inclusion, have you guys reached out to the organization Outdoor Afro that's based in Philadelphia?
That's one we missed. Thank you.
Okay, Outdoor Afro is a good one. I know that we have done some programs with them before. My coworker, who's also on this meeting right now, Gabrielle, she did, I think, archery with them, and some other state parks have done programs with them. So they're a great group. And there's also a, I'm going to say this wrong, Latino or Latinx, I'm not sure. There's a Latino group in Philadelphia that does a lot of outdoor recreation type activities too. And I don't remember their name off the top of my head, but I can email it to Dana when I get to work tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great. I don't want to cut that question short. If anyone else wants to give us some feedback about that, we'd appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll move on to one of the questions in the chat.
Okay, we have a question in the chat. What's next? What can we be doing now?
Awesome.
It's a big question.
Jumping at the bits. This is great.
Yeah.
Dana, Kate, Joe, does one of you want to take that?
Do we know if it's in terms of what's next on an EPAC level or like on an individual level?
What can
So
individuals be doing next?
I mean, I'll speak up as far as what our participants can do next. I mean, we need to get the word out there, obviously, and expand this. And we need to find our most qualified individuals to take these leadership roles. Like we mentioned, our roles are interim positions. We want to make sure that the best leaders are in place, and we have a diverse leadership group. So please spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. We want to make sure that no one says to us in December, well, I never heard of that. I didn't know this was coming. You know, we want to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to get involved. So please spread the word about this exciting new organization.
Also, please take the time to give us feedback or share ideas. We're all really open to that, and we hope that you take the time to give us some feedback, suggestions. Yeah, we have, you can contact us through our website, or email, or if you run into us, like would love that.
Yeah, we're also looking for feedback on, where help is needed, what areas need help, what people should get involved. Just, yeah, please flood us with your knowledge.
Yeah, figuring out some of those people that are already doing work at Craig so that we can start connecting the dots would be really helpful. We want to build out the part in our website where it says climbing areas. We sort of specifically left that blank as to not be confusing. We know there's a couple that we're going to put up there, but we didn't want it to look as though it was just these areas. So we're probably going to need that to build that out area by area. And we want to find those areas and find those folks so that we can start making connections and having conversations.
Hey guys, Sean Ryan here. I'm the chair for the Philadelphia chapter of the AAC, the American Alpine Club. So I was curious, what's the policy, or do you guys have one in mind for how long these board positions will last for, and what the kind of turnover in that sort of process of managing board members over time looks like? I asked that in part just for general curiosity, but in part, I think as maybe a response, or Haley's questions made me think about this, that 1 month is not much time to build a board, especially a very diverse board. And it sounds like we did take a bit of a swing and a miss in terms of getting a diverse representation here tonight. So presuming that it's going to take a little bit to get your foot in the door, make everybody comfortable, make them want to join and become a part of this organization. What does iteration 2, 3, 4, and so on look like? It's probably a little unfair to ask you guys that at the first meeting, but I'm curious if you've speculated on that at all.
Yeah, I can take that, and anyone else can feel free to elaborate beyond what I say. We have we've set 1 year positions for leadership and board of directors. As Kate mentioned, we're going to be doing interim positions through November. If needed, we can extend that, but we would like to keep these as minimal as possible, and give room for other people to take our places. But essentially all I can say for now is that we do have a yearly cycle set in place for these positions, and you're not limited to just 1 year. You could be reelected for a second and third year, but each November we have scheduled for elections to take place.
And is the intent that you guys are going to do general elections for the board positions, or is it the board itself elects its replacements?
The board will be doing those elections.
Okay.
It is worth noting that we do have it written in that board members can step down at any time. So if we find somebody that has interest, any of us are willing to step down at any point to make room for somebody. We also have the ability to vote and expand our board size. So we started with what we had and what was comfortable. And then, if we find folks that want to add on, we're prepared to do that as well. So we've been trying to think through some of those steps for that reason.
And you guys, you're separating the role of the board of directors from the functional roles of the secretary and the treasurer and so on, right? Those are two separate entities with different purviews.
On our interim team, we have a president, a vice president, secretary, and a treasurer. We also have 5 board members.
Got it.
Currently, officers are board members, but that's another way to do that. So, for example, I'm a treasurer and a board member. if I wanted to, I could step aside as an officer and open up a board member spot.
Gotcha. Yeah, sorry for asking such specific questions, but it seems like the immediate challenge or task right ahead of us is to formulate the most diverse board we can. So I was trying to understand that, and I guess maybe my specific point of feedback here would be adding a bit more content to the website about what it is you're looking for, right? A one-year commitment, or so on, that people can understand. Okay, here's the tasks or the roles. The board meets X number of times per year. I don't know if it's monthly or something. Like, I think that just understanding that might kind of demystify it some and make it less intimidating for people who might have never held a volunteer position as part of a board or any volunteer organization before.
That's great. Thanks, Sean. That's good feedback. Great.
Okay, we have a question in the chat. Can we take any steps to reduce vandalism? And
I hear Dana laughing.
Unfortunately,
Both the ideas we've had.
Unfortunately, we've dealt with this a lot in Eastern Pennsylvania, and I don't have a great answer for how to stop it. But we need to stay on top of it, and we need the community to be reporting it. And a good place to report that would be to EPAC. We need to be aware that it's happening, and we need to be aware that it's happening as soon as possible, so that we can take quick action to stop it. I'll use the Haycock Bouldering Coalition as an example. There was a summer graffiti cleanup series, and during the cleanup series, graffiti was popping back up, but it was a continual series, and we stayed on top of it. We removed it within days of new graffiti popping up, and we seem to have quelled any new graffiti, at least for the time being. So I think there's a good time component there, and it's important to get this stuff reported to someone that can take action on it quickly. That's my best answer for how we can stop the vandalism.
Another thing I want to add in terms of Haycock is that if it happens on Haycock, on their website, they have a really good reporting system. So that's something too. We've also talked about game cameras and things like that. I know state game land isn't the same as all areas, but that's definitely one thing too. Oh yeah, let's let Tim, did you want to say something about that?
Yeah, hey guys, this is Tim from the Haycock Bouldering Coalition. That's a very great question that we've been really trying to tackle and deal with at Haycock, and it really bleeds into every other area. So Char really hit it on the head, is how do we alert the people that it happened? Because as we venture into this, as we try to clean up our crags, I just want one experience that we learned is we have to all accept that it's going to come back. We can't be content with, we cleaned it once, we're great, let's move on. It will return. And I think as EPAC and as our smaller groups, a big thing is going to be education and bringing more people out to our crags to kind of learn how to really, be in balance with nature. But reporting it is dead on, like Char said. And what I struggle with the Haycock Bouldering Coalition is we had a very successful graffiti cleanup campaign. It was great. We had over 100 volunteers. We cleaned so much graffiti, but it will come back. So on our website, I struggled and said, how can someone, not just a climber, can say, hey, I found something new? So the best that my brain could come up with was a website that said, here's a text message, click this link, send a text message. Here, click this link, send an email. Click this link and send an anonymous form. Maybe some people don't want to, say it's them who reported it. But if you guys have ideas, and I think that's one of the really great things about EPAC is we have this wealth of knowledge now. We have all you dedicated folks who may come up and say, hey, I have a really great idea on how to tackle it. And it's probably going to like, whoa, we didn't even think of that. So this is a big challenge because the quicker we learn about it, and I can say for sure for state game lands, we've developed a great a relationship with them where now they respect climbers. And I would love nothing more. I am the biggest person who I hate graffiti, and I would string people up by their legs but that's probably not acceptable these days, but I would probably do it and just not tell anybody. But the biggest thing I think as a group is I can get something to the game commission that says, hey, I just got an alert an hour ago that new graffiti was reported or new vandalism, and it came in via various means. Can you work with us? So this is a really big open question to the group, is if you guys have creative ways how to immediately report it, and not just for climbers, because most of our climbing locations, you know, there's more than just climbers out there. There's hikers on game lands. It's hunters, like that's their land. So how do we make it universal that we're not saying that we as climbers will fix this? We as a dedicated organization want to take a stand. So let us know. We're going to come out and do our best, or we'll get through to the appropriate folks. And in Game Land's case, we'll contact the Game Commission, and they are on board. They want to catch them. Probably not as much as we do because we're so vested in this. But I welcome anyone to reach out to Kate and Char and Joe or Dana with any ideas, or myself from the Haycock Bull Run Coalition, and we'll put it into action. That's a really great question.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Tim.
much, Tim.
Hey, Kate,
And I would like to just resonate the fact that the areas that I've cleaned up graffiti at, the more you start cleaning them up, the less the frequency of it returning. Because when these artists learn that their stuff is going to be erased quickly, they find new places to do their work. So helping with the cleanups is huge.
There's no Picassos at Haycock. There might be Picassos at some of the other places, but we will remove the artwork.
All right.
Okay, Emma, did you have a comment or a question?
Yeah,
You're
so
on mute.
oh no, I'm unmuted. So my name is Emma. Mitch and I are both from like the Wilkes-Barre area. And we have a crag in particular that is not managed by anybody and it's being bolted. Joe could probably explain this better than I can, so I'm gonna like pass it over to him because I don't really know how to word it, to be honest. So
Are you speaking of Tilbury?
Tilbury,
Yeah. So there's some, cowboy esque type things going on up there, and yeah, the land isn't being managed by anyone. Like Char said in the intro, we're not equipped to handle that yet, but it's on our radar, and we need to handle things like that across the board. So the more people that kind of get involved, speak up, make it noted that it's maybe not accepted, or that we at least have to talk it over, the better. So I think the formation of a group like this is going to help with things like that. So, we just need to be patient and create as much support as we can for this organization.
I will say that area is on the radar with the Access Fund because contacts have been made. So there are some discussions because I believe it's state forest property. And some folks may or may not know, but on state park and state forest, there are actual climbing management protocols that have been written up, and things that should be followed properly, which some climbers may or may not know about. We should probably post that on our website to let folks know. Those were developed 15 years ago, I think, and the Access Fund was heavily involved in that, and it's probably come time to just review those to make sure they're up to standards as well. So
before we wrap up, I just want to open up in case there's time for maybe one more question or comment, or if there's anything anyone else wants to bring up.
Can I jump back to the game cameras for a second?
Yeah.
Only because I had this conversation literally 2 days ago. We had some break-ins at High Rocks as well as the graffiti problem. And so you sort of have two options with game cameras. Is you can either put up fake ones, which is more of a deterrent. But if we actually want to use it for surveillance, it needs to be done by the land manager or law enforcement for it to actually be useful. So like if you run up and put out a game camera and catch people, it may or may not be able to do anything. So, and I'll throw Beth under the bus to make sure I'm being accurate here in terms of land management, but in terms of if we want to use that as actual surveillance, And we have caught folks out at High Rocks a couple different ways, and they were properly prosecuted. But Beth, is that accurate? Yes, no?
Yeah, I would heavily suggest or definitely recommend that for any place where there's issues that you may want to put a game camera up, definitely work with the land manager, the land owner, because you don't want to be putting cameras up on someone else's property, basically, even if it is public property. State parks and state forests, that's speaking as from state park manager, that's something that we would rather work with you on than and help it be beneficial and be done right.
Yeah, just a note from the Haycock Bouldering Coalition, please don't put anything up on state game commission lands. They are very sensitive to game cameras due to the hunting nature. The best thing you can do, if you see someone vandalizing or graffiti, do not approach them. The best thing you can do is wait in the parking lot and get their license plate number. I know you might have to wait there for a while. There's very interesting and very different laws with state game lands regarding the things they can and can't do. The biggest thing you may be asked to do is actually, not testify, but make a statement saying, hey, I saw somebody vandalizing and this is their license plate. So hand it off to law enforcement on state game commission lands. You can help, but you do not have to be the one that gets in the way.
Gotcha. Thanks, Tim. All right, well, we really hope that what you've heard about EPAC so far, you have found it interesting or are enthusiastic about joining our mission. Like we said before, we're really interested in ideas, suggestions, critiques. So please contact us through our website, or if you run into us, email us. We'll post the answers to our questions on our website, including if anything is left in our chat. I also did send out links to the Padlets before our meeting. So if you want to go back and add your ideas to those, that would be great too. We really hope that you'll help us find our EPAC team. We talked about, missing the mark a little bit in terms of the people, like the diverse crowd we were hoping for tonight, but I'm really happy that all of you are here, and I think we've had a really good conversation. So again, we're looking for leaders, ambassadors, educators, mentors, mentees, allies, partners, volunteers. We're looking for roles we haven't even envisioned yet. So we're hoping to be able to assemble that team in November. Please contact us if you're interested. Keep an eye on our social media for updates as we grow. And we thank you so much. And we really hope you choose to get involved.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. Anything else in the chat?
Nope.
We're good.
Nope.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Right.
Have a
Good
good
night.
evening.
Think about climbing soon. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for hosting.
Thank you. You're welcome.